Have you ever wondered if your zodiac sign existed not just in the modern world, but millions of years ago, when humans still lived as fragile tribes under the vast, merciless sky? Imagine a world without writing, without maps, without language as we know it today. A world where survival depended not just on food or fire, but on the ability to notice, to share, to connect. In that world, Gemini was not simply the sign of curiosity and conversation. In that world, Gemini carried another name, the messenger of the tribe. The nights were long, the days uncertain. The tribe lived by the river and hunted in the forest, their lives balanced between danger and hope. Every sound in the distance could mean opportunity or threat. A broken branch could signal a predator. A shifting wind could warn of a coming storm. A strange scent could mean that another tribe had crossed into their land. But how could one group of people, bound together by firelight, know what lay beyond the clearing? Who would bring them the knowledge that meant survival? This was the gift of Gemini. Gemini's eyes were always moving, scanning, curious. While others worked quietly, Gemini asked questions. While others sat in silence, Gemini listened to the whispers of the trees, the calls of birds, the rustle of grass in the wind. They noticed patterns that others missed when the animals migrated, when the river rose, when the clouds carried the smell of rain. And they carried this knowledge not for themselves, but for everyone. When hunters wandered too far, it was Gemini who ran swiftly to bring back warnings of danger or news of opportunity. When the elders wondered if the seasons were changing, it was Gemini who carried the signs from the forest to the camp. When one part of the tribe struggled with fear, Gemini told stories from another, weaving connection through words, gestures, laughter, and song. They were not the strongest, not the fiercest, not the most patient, but they were the voice, the bridge, the link that held the tribe together. Gemini was the one who could run miles barefoot, carrying messages between groups separated by distance. Their body was quick, but their mind was quicker. They remembered every detail, the exact curve of tracks in the dirt, the precise way the wind smelled before a storm, the tone of a stranger's voice. They wove these details into stories the tribe could understand, and in those stories lay survival. But this role was not easy. Imagine being the one who carried words in a time when language was not yet formed. Imagine trying to explain the danger of a predator with only gestures and sounds, desperate for the others to believe before it was too late. Imagine being the one who spoke often only to be doubted, mocked, or ignored by those who valued silence over chatter. Gemini carried this burden heavily, for their gift was their voice, and their voice was not always welcomed. There were times when Gemini's warnings saved lives. Once, when the hunters prepared to set out, Gemini pointed to the sky and shook their head. Others laughed, but Gemini insisted, miming falling rain and flooded rivers. The hunters reluctantly waited. That night, a storm broke so violently it tore trees from the earth. Had the hunters gone, they would not have returned. Another time, Gemini followed the tracks of animals further than anyone dared. They returned breathless, waving their arms, describing a valley filled with herds. The next day, the tribe feasted for weeks on the bounty, and yet there were also times when Gemini's quickness betrayed them. When they brought back news too hastily, or when they shared words they had not confirmed. The tribe would grumble, calling them unreliable, fickle, unsteady. The sting of those words hurt deeply, for Gemini's intentions were always to help. But their spirit was not one to be crushed. For every doubt, Gemini brought another story. For every mistake, another truth. They could not stay silent, because silence was death. In those ancient nights, when the fire burned low and fear crept in, Gemini's voice carried like a spark. They told stories of hunts of rivers of stars. They reminded the tribe of victories, of lessons learned, of dreams yet to come. They made laughter rise even in the face of hunger. They brought comfort to children who feared the dark. They filled the silence with life. And though not everyone admitted it, the tribe needed this just as much as food or fire. If you are a Gemini today, perhaps you have felt the same restless energy inside you. The need to talk, to share, to ask, to connect. The joy of telling a story, of making someone laugh, of bringing news before anyone else. Perhaps you have been called inconsistent, unfocused, too quick to change. But just as it was in the tribe, this is not weakness. This is your strength. Because the world does not survive on strength alone. It survives on communication. It survives on connection. It survives on those who can turn information into understanding silence, into song strangers, into family. Life, 10 million years ago, was harsh. Aries may have fought, Taurus may have protected Virgo, may have healed Libra, may have balanced Scorpio, may have strategized, but Gemini connected. Gemini ran across valleys, carried messages through the dark, filled the camp with stories, and gave voice to what would have otherwise gone unnoticed. Because Gemini spoke, the tribe knew what to fear, what to chase, what to hope for. Because Gemini connected, the tribe was not just a group of individuals, but a family bound by words. So when you look at the stars today and you find the constellation of Gemini shining above, remember this: truth long before language, long before writing, long before stories were written down. Your spirit had already taken its place. You were there, barefoot on the earth, breathless with news, eyes alive with curiosity, voice weaving the first threads of connection. You were the messenger of the tribe.